will continue with the next class, that is the topic which I will be dealing with. It is anorectal anomalies. So what is this anorectal anomaly? So anorectal anomalies, it is the most common congenital malformation of the lower end of the alimentary tract, that is anorectal canal, that is usually seen in newborns. Okay, so that is mainly anorectal anomalies. It is usually the congenital malformation, most common congenital malformation of the lower end of the alimentary tract, that is anorectal canal, which is commonly seen in newborns. Okay, which is commonly seen in newborns. So this usually affects, like they will have small problems in the anus and the rectum, which is commonly seen in the children, 1 of 500 infants. So that is usually seen, and approximately it is seen that about 40% of the children who are affected by this anorectal anomalies are due to any other congenital disorders such as Down syndrome, congenital heart disease, or any undescended testes, neural tube defects. So that is usually seen, and this usually occurs, okay, this anomalies usually occurs during embryonic life. Okay, it usually occurs during embryonic life, that is at the 8th week of the gestation. Okay, at the 8th week of the gestation. So that is usually about this thing. So the anorectal anomalies, it is the most common congenital malformation. Okay, it is the most common congenital malformation that usually are seen in the infants, that is mainly affects the lower end of the alimentary tract, that is anorectal canal. So this is usually seen that it is mainly affected with minor abnormalities. Okay, so they will be having minor abnormalities. Okay, so they will be having minor abnormalities, which is usually seen in the anus and the rectum. So that is usually seen in the anus and the rectum in the 1 of 500 infants. So most of the children who are affected by, like about approximately 40% of the children, okay, approximately 40% of the children are affected by this disease are mainly due to congenital defects such as Down syndrome or any heart disease, congenital heart disease, undescended testes. And we seen that this is usually formed during embryonic life, that is at the 8th week of the gestation. Okay, at the 8th week of the gestation. So that is usually about this anorectal anomalies. So next will be the classification of this. So there are different classifications. In that, first is stenosis of the anus. Okay, there will be stenosis of the anus. So the first classification, it is stenosis of the anus. So in this, stricture may be at the anus. Okay, stricture may be at the anus at the level of 1 to 4 centimeters. So in this, what is happening? The stricture may be at the end of the anus, that is between 1 to 4 centimeters above the anus, or extended the entire length of the anus. So that is the stricture. Okay, in this, the stricture will be around the anus or above the anus. Okay, it will be around the anus or above the anus or whole of the anus, that is 1 to 4 centimeters. Okay, 1 to 4 centimeters. So this makes the baby to pass ribbon-like stools. Okay, this makes the baby to pass ribbon-like stools, and they will be having difficulty to pass. Okay, they will be having difficulty to pass because the anal opening will be small. Okay, the anal opening will be small. So the first is stenosis of the anus. So in this stenosis of the anus, what is happening? The stricture will be in the anus, or it will be around the anus or above the anus, or it will be extended the whole anus. It is about 1 to 4 centimeters. And due to this, what happened? The infant will not be able to pass stools, and the opening will be small, or they will be passing like ribbon-like stools. So that is usually about the stenosis of the anus. So next is anal membrane atresia. Okay, the next is anal membrane atresia. So in this, usually what happen? They will be having obstruction in the membrane. So the continuous obstruction will be there in the membrane. So on examination, you can see that meconium will be present behind the membrane. Okay, the meconium will be present behind the membrane. There is anal membrane atresia. Okay, so next is anal membrane atresia. So in this anal membrane atresia, so what is happening? They will be having the anal membrane gets obstructed. Okay, the anal membrane gets obstructed. On the examination, when you see that meconium will be present behind the membrane. Okay, the meconium will be present behind the membrane. So that is usually seen. So next is rectal atresia. So in case of rectal atresia, the normal anus and rectum pouch. In this condition, there is normal anus and rectal pouch. Okay, normal anus, anal and rectal, or anal pouch will be there. But rectal pouch will not be there, or it will be hollow in the sacrum. Okay, it will be blindly in the hollow of the sacrum. So normally the anal pouch will be there, but the rectal pouch will be ending blindly in the hollow of the sacrum. Okay, the ending blindly in the hollow of the sacrum. So that is rectal atresia. So rectal atresia, where the anal pouch will be there, but the rectal pouch will be blindly ended in the hollow of the sacrum. So that is usually about this classification of this one, this one, anorectal anomalies. So that is first is stenosis of the anus, where you can see that stricture will be present at the anus or on the anus or the complete the anus, where the baby will be able and difficulty to pass, or it will because of the small opening of the anus, or it will be passing the ribbon-like structure. So that is ribbon-like stool will be passed. So next is anal membrane obstruction. So in this usually the membranes get obstructed, and you can see that meconium will be passed behind the membrane. Next is rectal astrasia. In this anal pouch will be present, but the rectal pouch will be ended blindly in the hollow of the sacrum. So that is usually the classification of this anorectal anomalies. So next is clinical symptoms. See, clinical symptoms, they will be having abdominal distension, vomiting will be there, or they will be having rectal thermometer cannot be inserted. Okay, rectal thermometer cannot be inserted. So that is they will be having abdominal distension, vomiting, and rectal temperature thermometer cannot be inserted. And the signs and symptoms, these are the main symptoms that is seen, but usually depends upon the classification which we have seen. So that is mainly in case of imperforated anal membrane. Okay, if there is obstruction in the anal membrane, so therefore no meconium will be not be passed. On examination, you can see meconium behind the membranes. Okay, meconium will not be passed on examination. Meconium will be behind the membrane. So that is it is in case of imperforated anal membrane. So next is in case of anal stenosis. So in case of anal stenosis, you can see that they'll pass ribbon-like stool, which is with very difficulty they'll pass this ribbon-like stools. Constipation will be there. Next, in case of rectal atresia, so in case of rectal agenesis, the fistula opens in the posterior urethra in males. Okay, the fistula opens in the posterior urethra in the males and in the upper vagina in females. Okay, in this rectal agenesis, fistula will be formed, and the fistula usually opens in the posterior urethra in the males and the upper vagina in the females. So that is usually said. Then rectoperineal fistula. Okay, so next is rectoperineal fistula. So opening is seen in the perineum. Okay, the opening is seen in perineum, usually in the anterior to the center of the external sphincter in female. Okay, to the anterior to the external sphincter in the female, and in male child it will be close to the scrotum. Okay, the male child it will be close to the scrotum. So in case of rectoperineal fistula, an opening will be seen in the perineum. So that is anterior to the external sphincter in females and next to the scrotum in the males. So that is usually about this thing. And next it is mainly rectovaginal fistula. So the fistula will be present between the rectum and the vagina. Okay, the fistula will be present in the rectum and the vagina, which makes the stool to passes through the vagina, and the stool passes through the vagina. So that is usually about this. Symptoms that is usually varies depending upon the classification. So that is mainly first is anal imperforated anal membrane. Meconium will be not passed, or it will be present behind the membrane. Next is in case of anal stenosis, ribbon-like stools will be passed, constipation will be there. In case of rectal agenesis, usually what is happening is that fistula is formed in the posterior urethra in the males, whereas in the upper vagina in the females. And in case of rectoperineal fistula, the opening will be seen in the perineum, and also usually anterior to the external sphincter in the females and below the scrotum in the males. It is rectovaginal fistula, so opening will be seen in the vagina, where there will be opening between the rectum and the vagina, the stool passes through the vagina. So these are the symptoms that is usually seen. So main symptoms are mainly a vomiting, abdominal distension, rectal tube or rectal thermometer cannot be inserted. Other than that, it depends upon the type of anorectal anomaly that is formed, whether it is anal membrane, imperforated anal membrane, rectal agenesis, rectal vaginal fistula, rectal peritoneal fistula, rectal perineal fistula. So depending upon this, usually the symptoms usually will be present. So next is diagnosis. So diagnosis, we go with X-ray, where we have to make the first baby upside down. Okay, so X-ray should be taken where the baby will be made upside down. That is usually then we have to go with urine examination to check out the presence of meconium. Then we have to go with invertogram on X-ray. Okay, we have to go with invertogram on X-ray. This is mainly to locate rectal pouch. Okay, where exactly the rectal pouch is there. Okay, where exactly the rectal pouch is there, because in this rectal stenosis I have told you that rectal pouch ends up in the sacrum. Okay, hollow region of the sacrum. So therefore we have to check out the presence of where exactly the rectal pouch is there. So therefore we have to go with invertogram and X-ray. So these are the diagnostic tests that we go. It is mainly X-ray. The X-ray, we have to go with inverted infant, that is upside down. Okay, we have to take the X-ray upside down. Then we have to go with invertogram on X-ray, where we check about the presence of rectal pouch. Then we go with urine examination to check out the presence of meconium. So that is usually about this thing. So management. So in case of this management, mainly we go with reconstructive surgery. Okay, in case of management, mainly we go with reconstructive surgery, that is we correct the damaged part as well as we repair the defect. Okay, to correct the defect as well as to damage the So to correct the defect as well as to repair the defect. So in case of membrane atresia, that is anal membrane atresia, the physician will be using a blunt instrument. Okay, the physician will be using a blunt instrument to, so that they can make the incision of the membrane. Okay, so they can make an incision in the membrane so that the obstruction will be removed and it will allow the meconium to pass easily. So that is, in case of anal membrane obstruction, the physician uses a blunt instrument to make an incision in the membrane and to open the obstruction. So that is usually there. And in case of anal stenosis, okay, in case of anal stenosis, we go with dilatation of the stricture. We will go with dilatation of the stricture. So dilatation should be done until the child can defecate easily. So in case of anal stenosis, we go with dilatation of the stricture. So this dilatation should be done until the baby passes the feces easily. So that is usually done, and the dilatation should be continued for 4 to 6 months. And the dilatation should be continued for 4 to 6 months to prevent further problems. So that is in case of anal stenosis. So that is usually about this management that we go. It is mainly we go with like reconstructive surgery is done. In case of reconstructive surgery, we just go with correcting the defect or repairing the defect. So in this, in case of anal membrane obstruction, a surgeon uses a blunt instrument, makes an incision and removes the obstruction. And then we go with, in case of anal stenosis, dilatation should be done, and this dilatation should be done until the child can pass the stricture. Dilatation will be done, and this will be done until the child passes the feces easily, and this should be done until 4 to 6 months. Okay, it should be done 4 to 6 months. So that is usually about this management of anorectal anomalies. So this is about this anorectal anomalies. So anorectal anomalies is nothing but congenital malformation which affects the lower end of the alimentary tract, that is anorectal canal, that is seen in the infant. So this is usually seen caused in the embryonic life, that is in the 8th week of the gestation, and this usually occurs due to other congenital disorders like Down syndrome, congenital heart disease, undescended testis, scrotum. So that is usually about this thing. So symptoms mainly it is distension, abdominal distension, vomiting, and the rectal tube or rectal thermometer cannot be inserted. Other symptoms mainly depends upon the classification of this anorectal anomalies. Management we mainly go with reconstructive surgery to repair the defect. So this is usually about this anorectal anomalies. So the next topic, it is mainly rectal prolapse. The next topic, that is usually the rectal prolapse. So what is this rectal prolapse? So rectal prolapse, it is nothing but abnormal descent of the mucous membrane of the rectum through the anus. Okay, so that is usually rectal prolapse. It is nothing but abnormal descent. Okay, it is nothing but the abnormal descent of the mucous membrane of the rectum through the anus. Okay, through the anus. So it is usually the abnormal descent. Okay, it is usually the abnormal descent of the mucous membrane of the rectum through the anus. So that is usually the protrusion can be a small wall of the rectum or the entire wall of the rectum. Okay, the protrusion can be a small wall of the rectum or the entire wall of the rectum. So that is usually there. So next is usually about this thing. So what is that? Rectal prolapse, it is nothing but descent of the mucous membrane of the rectum through the anus, and the protrusion can be either small wall of the rectum or the entire wall of the rectum. So what are the causes for this rectal prolapse? Why it is caused? It can be due to any parasitic infections. Okay, this can occur due to any parasitic infections such as amoebiasis. Okay, in case of amoebiasis, okay, this can occur due to any parasitic infections, that is amoebiasis, or in case of pelvic floor dysfunction. Okay, when there is dysfunction in the pelvic floor and there is any abnormalities in the pelvic floor, so then also we can see that this rectal prolapse can occur. Or in case of neurological disorders, okay, it can occur due to any neurological disorders. Example like previous lower back pain, okay, due to previous lower back pain or spinal tumor, or in case of multiple sclerosis. Okay, this can occur due to any neurological disorders such as previous lower back pain, multiple sclerosis, or due to spinal tumor. So that is usually that. And in case of children, rectal prolapse is mainly associated with cystic fibrosis. Okay, it is mainly associated with cystic fibrosis. Any congenital Hirschsprung's disease. Okay, in case of Hirschsprung's disease, malnutrition. So that is usually about this thing. So what are the causes of this rectal prolapse? So causes, it can be due to any parasitic infection such as amoebiasis. It can occur due to any pelvic floor dysfunction or in case of any neurological disorders. And most of the cases, most of the cases of this rectal prolapse in children are associated with cystic fibrosis, Hirschsprung's disease, congenital megacolon, spina bifida, or in case of malnutrition. So these are usually causes of this rectal prolapse. So next is symptoms. So when we talk about the symptoms, so initially the bowel movement will be there, but it usually occurs after bowel movement. Okay, it usually occurs after bowel movements where it retracts when the child stands up. Okay, it retracts when the child stands up. So normally after bowel movement, usually it occurs after bowel movement in the initial period where it retracts when the child stands up. Later the mass protrudes. Okay, later the mass protrudes, staining the volvulus. Okay, staining the volvulus when the baby coughs, when the baby sneezes also. So when the baby sneezes and coughs, the mass protrudes. Okay, the mass protrudes. So in the initial period, it occurs only when the baby stands up, when the child stands up. Okay, in the initial period, protrusion will be occurring only when the child stands up. But later on, it usually mass protrudes even when the baby coughs, even when the baby sneezes. Pain will be there. Constipation will be there, fecal incontinence will be there, discharge of mucus from the anal region, rectal bleeding. So that is usually the signs and symptoms of this rectal prolapse. So what are those? So mainly they is seen that pain will be there, constipation, fecal incontinence, rectal bleeding, discharge of mucus. In the beginning period, when the mass protrudes only when the child stands up, but later on when the child coughs or sneezes, that time also this protrusion of mass will be present. So that is usually about the symptoms of this rectal prolapse. What are the diagnosis, how we can do? Mainly we go with rectal proctoscopy as well as rectal examination. Rectal proctoscopy and rectal examination. This is mainly to assess the rectum. Okay, this is mainly done to assess the rectums for additional lesions. Okay, this is mainly done to assess the rectum for additional lesions. That is mainly rectal biopsy and rectal proctoscopy and rectal examination is usually done. So next is management. So management, it is mainly correcting the protruded mass. Okay, correcting the protruded mass. So mainly we go with take steps for preventing constipation, take proper measures to prevent malnutrition. Worm infestation has to be managed because in the causes I have told you, it might be due to parasitic infections. So if a worm infestation should also be taken steps to correct. So that is usually the thing. So mainly we go with taking preventive steps to reduce constipation, worm infestations as well as to prevent malnutrition. Dietary modification has to be done. Okay, dietary modification has to be done where we have to go with giving increased fluid intake. Okay, we have to go with giving increased fluid intake. So that is usually done. Then we have to go with repairing the prolapse, that is sphincter should be corrected. Okay, sphincter should be corrected. So that is usually about this management that we go with in case of rectal prolapse. So that is mainly that is usually done. So mainly we go with taking preventive steps for reducing constipation. Dietary management should be done, like high fluid rich diet should be taken. Correction of malnutrition as well as worm infestation should be prevented. Other than that, we have to go with repairing the prolapse, that is sphincter should be repaired properly. Sphincter should be repaired properly, and the sphincter repair, it is usually done through Repstein procedure. Okay, it is usually done through Repstein procedure. So this is usually about this management of rectal prolapse. So what is rectal prolapse? So rectal prolapse, it is nothing but descent of the mucous membrane of the rectum through the anal region. So the small portion of the rectum can protrude or the entire portion of the rectal wall can protrude. So in this video we have seen about anorectal anomalies and rectal prolapse. Anorectal anomalies, it is the congenital malformation that usually affects the lower end of the anorectal alimentary tract, that is anorectal canal. So this is usually seen in the 8th week of the gestation, and this is usually caused due to other congenital disorders such as congenital heart disease, Down syndrome and descendant testes and scrotum. So that is usually about this anorectal anomalies, whereas rectal prolapse, it is nothing but protrusion of the mucous membrane of the rectum in the anal region. So this is about this disorders of lower alimentary tract, that is anorectal anomalies and rectal prolapse.